Hey there, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into this, the very first podcast of A Pint with Seaniebee. I guess episode 1 is probably as good a place as any to give you all a bit of the ambition behind what we're trying to achieve with the thing. Essentially, one of my observations is that there are a lot of regular folks, certainly people I've met and talked to over the years, who have lived or are living brave, interesting and creative lives. And yet we never really get to hear from them. So, how their background and their upbringing forged the path they went down, what decisions they took that made all the difference to their life, what ideas they have to change the world in which we live, what wisdom they've garnered, and looking back perhaps what they might change or what advice they might offer up to those following in their footsteps. I'm going on a bit of a journey myself here too, and don't know where this is going to lead. It might be done and dusted by 2 episodes, but I'm content to let the podcast travel in whatever line or course it takes. And at the outset, I'm going to try and get to talk to creative people, architects, writers, advertising people, folks who work in TV, film, and generally, as I said, people who have simply led interesting lives. Also, it's worth mentioning that the title of the podcast, A Pint with Seaniebee, is also a comment really on the format I'm looking to follow. I feel this world has just all gone twittery in terms of sound bites, and we're losing a sense of depth of analysis somewhere. And so each show will be around half an hour long, where hopefully I can get to the heart of each life journey, where possible in a relaxed and chatty environment over a pint of something. So anyway, we'll see where it takes us. This is episode 1, and I am extremely honoured to have been given the chance to sit down with one of Ireland's greatest living musicians. Mundy is a true rock star, a guy who needs absolutely no intro to any of you tuning in from Ireland. But to those overseas who may not have heard of him, he's a guy who's been at the forefront of the Irish and indeed international music industry for over 2 decades. He's been compared to Bob Dylan, Springsteen, and is one of those folks who has carried the mantle of a lot of Irish acts of the 80s and 90s that followed in the footsteps of U2. So I'm talking about bands like the Waterboys, Into Anua, Hot House Flowers, etc. He's a genuinely good guy, great storyteller, and one of the world's hardest working musicians. You'll hear the record industry put him on a pedestal very early in his career and then tore him off it just as quick. But he didn't quit and has kept going, and I think tonight's episode is a real example of the need for not just grit, but belief in your art. For thousands of Irish folks, his anthemic songs, and he has many of them, have literally been the voice of a generation. So it's genuinely a real privilege that Mundy agreed to be my lunch guest here, and you may hear some tinkly-tonkly Chinese music in the background, which is a bit random, but that's because we recorded the podcast in one of Dublin's most legendary Chinese restaurants, and one of my favourite Chinese restaurants in the world, which is Kites in Ballsbridge. Anyway, without further ado, the first episode of A Pint with Seaniebee. Let's hear it for and from Mundy. Mundy, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
Do you like the surroundings?
I do. I like the fact we're on the first floor, and you can see where we are, Ballsbridge, from another, rather than sitting in traffic.
One of the things we're going to do today is I've asked Mundy to bring along some of his songs that he feels are very important to him that maybe may have been overlooked. Mundy is famous for having probably 5 or 6 anthems that he's probably sick and tired of playing half of them, but they're famous songs like Mexico, To You I Bestow, July, Galway Girl. If you've never heard of Mundy, I'd urge you to download them immediately from iTunes. But I'm going to ask Mundy, he may pick one of those. I haven't cleared this with him, but I want him to pick some songs that he feels maybe have been underplayed in his career, and we're going to use those as musical stings throughout the interview. So what's your first choice?
My first is it's from my new album, and it's Sarah of the Slopes.
But it's written about your wife?
Written about my wife, but it's
right.
The reason I'm picking it is because it's catchy, but I think the lyrics in it are very heartfelt, but I don't know if I could ever play it on radio or if it could ever be a single, so to speak. But I think, I'm going to go for that one, and I'm going to work backwards.
Brilliant. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to listen now to Sarah of the Slopes.
She came a-riding offering you needing to take control. Then in she came, then in came she. When I was done with me, surrounded by the ashes of my hopes, came Sarah of the slopes. Ooh. The dew of my sorrow was hard to hide. My heart lit up like when stars collide. Just like the first time you ever smelled a rose. If you were a stranger and saw her there, washing my body of its despair, that was the first time my wounds began to close. Then if she came, then in came she. When I was done with me, unbounded by the lashes of my robes, came Sarah of the Are you gonna take my heart, my love? Come on and take me home, my love. In she came, then in came she. When I was done with me, unbounded by the lashes of my rose, came Sarah of the slopes. Sarah, Sarah of the slopes.
Excellent. Sarah of the Slopes, as I said before, available on iTunes for 99 cents. So buy it now. Mundy has produced 5 studio albums, is that correct?
6.
6 studio
Yeah.
albums. That's my research gone askew there.
No, 5 originals.
5 originals. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
So
there's
you're
a
talking
one-
about Shuffle.
Yeah, Shuffle, yeah,
there you
that's
go.
it.
So I did a bit of
Yeah,
research.
that's good.
So take me back to before we get into your actual album recordings. What age did you start playing?
To be honest, I think about 5 or 6 years of age. My parents bought myself and my brother a K was the brand guitar. It was from Santee really, but it was for my brother and myself. And I kind of, believe it or not, had a way of tuning it that I thought was melodic or whatever, an open, like this is weird, it was an open tuning and there was dots on the guitar up at the neck. And I used to play these 3-chord songs with one finger. And I'd write them down like, 5 or 6 in scribble. But like I was listening to the Shakin' Stevens and stuff like that. But I really got stuck in when I was 14. Briefly.
So you're from the Midlands, from Offaly.
Yeah, from Burr, County Offaly.
And your parents were publicans.
Yeah, my dad grew up in a bar about 8 miles from Burr, and his dad was a publican. Then he met my mum, and then they moved to Burr. She's from Longford, and they opened up a pub together in 1969 called Enright's Tavern.
So did that give did the fact that you had a pub was that your first big venue when you were younger? Did you play in the pub?
Yeah, I did. I remember I bought a couple of guitar books. One was like Complete Guitar 1, 2, 3 and 4, you know. I had Blowing in the Wind. I had We Are Sailing by Rod Stewart. I had about 3 songs down in the living room off the pub when I was about 14, and my dad said, "You're ready." I was like, "Ready for what?" And he goes, "Go out to the pub and play," you know. So he said, "You can learn the rest of them in front of people." So my career has kind of been like that ever since.
And did you get money? Like, would you?
Well, at that stage I was getting pints of Coca-Cola probably and packets of dry roasted peanuts. But fast forward maybe a year and a half.
This was your Hamburg period.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely.
You got tight.
But past, my manager was tight. My dad was tight. Yeah. But fast forward a couple of years, I was playing around the Midlands with some friends of mine. We were playing for pints, and then there was pints and money. Then it was just, do you know what? We don't want pints. We'll just have the money.
Right. And then what about the guys who you're playing with?
So my first band was called Stage Fright in school. Blind Vision were in 5th year. Long story short, I ended up leaving Stage Fright, joined Blind Vision, and then we started playing lots of acoustic Americana, raggle-taggle stuff like the Waterboys and R.E.M. and a lot of Dylan, Simon & Garfunkel, and we started playing around all day, like busking competitions.
One of the things I wanted to ask about, like at this point in your career when you're toying with maybe the idea of being a musician, I've touched on these points a lot about living in Ireland back in the day, where I always felt there was, if you wanted to do something out of the ordinary, or you wanted to do something that not a lot of other people did, there was always people telling you why you were wasting your time and why you just shouldn't get a proper job. Did you have that happening in your life?
My dad took me up to Dublin one day when I was about 17, I think, and he took me out to Glenageary to this woman. I had to do a lot of aptitude tests and whatnot to see what way my brain was and all that. And my dad, she said to him, he's creative. There's no doubt about it. If he wants to do something creative, that's where he has to go. He's not academic. He's not. His brain isn't working that way. And on our way back, we stopped off at Mother Hubbard's or somewhere like that, one of those truck stops, and he bought me a pint of Guinness. He didn't even ask me what I wanted, and he said, "Go ahead."
What a great
story! And it gave me some sort of now I realise where you're at, and here's the pint. I know, and by the way, I know you've been drinking all the time, so so that was up to there. And but my dad always said, you gotta. I mean, he did try to get me to do. He wanted me to be a hairdresser at one point. He wanted me to be.
Yeah, you didn't do that.
Yeah, he wanted me to be. He wanted me to probably run the pub. He wanted me to get into the equestrian army was one thing, because I was like been
show jumping, right?
Yeah, heavily into it. I used to get up every morning before I went to school for between the age of, I'd say 9 and 16. I was up every morning at like 6 a.m. riding out horses before I went to school. Loved it. I have to say, it was a great upbringing for the music industry to be around horse dealers and shysters.
We're going to come on to that.
Yeah.
This must be a good time to ask for your second song, because we're about to now move into you leaving your childhood and getting your big break. So what song would you pick as your second song?
Another, I'm going to, because people say to me, you're known for all your upbeat songs, and people kind of forget sometimes that I can do the other thing quite well too. And I lived in London for a year. I spent a lot of time in London when I got my record deal, but there was a massive big car pound, where they keep all the cars from the inner city of London, up near Ladbroke Grove. And I saw a lot of poor kids and just a lot of tenements around there, and I wrote this song about a boy wanting to run away, basically, from school, from his family. His dad is an alcoholic and his mum's not able to keep up with it all. I wrote this song, and kind of has a little bit of Bruce, bit of Nebraska Bruce in there too. I don't know. So
it's 3 o'clock on Monday. There's one more hour of school. There's nothing in my lunchbox. The teacher's lost his cool. I'm staring out the window. I can't wait to be free of all this bullshit, to act out my dreams. Meet me at the car pound with some cans of spray paint. I can bring some cigarettes, 'cause mama's gone away and daddy's playing poker. He don't care anyways. He's been out since Friday, squandering all his pay. Tonight I plan to make it, to be free at last, free of all this bullshit, to hike up my mast. I'll write you when I get there, I'll send you my address, 'cause I have got to get this lorry off my chest. Meet me at the car pound with some cans of spray paint. I can bring some cigarettes, 'cause mama's gone away and daddy's playing poker. He don't care anyways. He's been out since Friday, squandering all his pay. He's been squandering all his pay. Yeah. And you can bring your girl along, well, if she brings a lovely friend, and we'll show them what us town boys do with time to spend. And bring some Coca-Cola, I found a bit of whiskey, 'cause it could be a long time till I'm back here with you. It could be a long time till I'm back here with you. Meet me at the car pound with some cans of spray paint. I can bring some cigarettes, 'cause mama's gone away and daddy's just a joker. He don't care anyways. He's been out all weekend, squandering all his pay. Meet me at the car pound. Meet me at the car pound. Meet me at the car pound. Meet me at the car pound.
Okay, that was Carpan. Carpan is a song, actually, Mundy, that I have written down on my piece of paper in front of me, because it was one of the songs I picked out and want to talk to you about, because one of the themes in a lot of your music, and we're going to come back to the timeline in a minute, but is this running away from, I mean, I talk about, this yearning to get away. 10,000 Miles is a song, 10,000 Miles Away is a song that I really associated with, because I presume you're talking about Australia, or wherever it is, but I went to Australia and I ran away, and you're away from harm, and you're away and you're exploring the world, and a lot of those themes come through. Where does that come from? Is that just about getting out of Burr, or is it about getting out of Ireland, or is it about getting out of your head? Or
It's just, I mean, for me, we all want to get away. I mean, I want to get away from myself most of the time. As life goes on, you're that keyring, you get extra keys that you don't necessarily want to have, and there's responsibilities that come with it, and sometimes a week can be quite intense, that you just want to blow off some steam at the end of the week or whatever. But
I love as well that you said this about a lot of your songs, is this, and it's a very humble thing where you say, it's a rock star thing to say as well, but you say that this is not my song anymore. Where you're actually on stage and people just know it as backwards as you know it. And you say that I give this to you. It's like, I mean,
well, that came about from this lady I know, Sarah Keogh, who she's from Toronto, but when I recorded Raining Down Hours, I was going through the end of a relationship, so all the songs are about wanting to rebuild something, or else just wanting to destroy it, or else wanting to, you know, it's very hard. There's loads of different emotions, love and confusion by your side. 1 minute you want to... Anyway, long story short, we did break up. The album came out, went to number 1, and I just went from one gear into another. Concerts were being sold out. I did like something like 13 sold out concerts in Dublin in a year, which is pretty phenomenal. You know, it's very hard to even do one now for a lot of artists. But anyway, I started having really bad panic attacks because I was having to go out on the stage and sing about basically my biography, and I wasn't even in the healing process yet, and
you're just living it every night.
Yeah, and it was actually just haunting me. And
does it get to a point where the words just become a blur and you're not?
Well, this is what happened. So she said to me one night, she said, there will be a point when people will sing them back to you that you won't own them anymore. And she said that's when you'll have healed.
Brilliant.
So about a year after that, the healing process begun because people started learning the words of them. And then that's why in July at that Oxygen concert I said this song isn't mine anymore, this is yours now, or whatever. So that's kind of what I meant by that, and it was kind of like letting myself know that it's not mine.
Lovely.
Emotionally, you know.
Yeah. So Raining Down Hours was 2004, so we jumped on a bit there, but we got to go back to how did the boy who was having a pint with his dad in a truck stop end up launching Jelly Legs in 1996?
So I had written a bunch of songs, and I started going out with an American girl when I was 16, who was very inspiring. She was from Sedona, Arizona, and I wrote some really good songs in this period about her. But it was a crucial point because I'm like 16, 17, 18, 19. So when I'm about 19, the girl who I was going out with, she's deciding to leave me. Her visa is only 3 years long or something like that, so it's inevitable, and I'm not going to be able to move to America. So I went down to the International one night, and Dave Murphy said, there's 2 guys from England who've flown over to see you. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, they're A&R guys. I've never seen them before, but they've heard about you. So I went down to the bar, and there's 2 guys. There's a black guy and a white guy. And I said, how you doing? They're like, we've heard about you in London. So I said, well, I'm going to be playing in about 10 minutes. And they came up and saw me, brought me back down, and they said, we were really interested. We think you've got some great songs. Da, 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 da. I think that all came from the fact that I was no longer going to be going out with the girl, and also it came from the fact that there was a great buzz happening in Dublin at the time, and I felt that basically people were saying I had some really good songs. So there was about eight record companies wanted to sign me then all of a sudden.
Wow. What did that feel like?
It was amazing.
You made it.
No, I didn't really like it, to be honest, because I didn't think I was ready. Then all of a sudden I'd met Hazel O'Connor, the great singer from she's still a great singer, of course, but she became friendly with me, and then she had a friend who wanted to manage me, Sally, who became my manager. And then it was literally from one day I was the 2 A&R guys to like within 3 or 4 months I was on tour with Alanis Morissette fairly quickly. It was a bit of a whirlwind. Lawyers, panic attacks, all sorts of stuff. All this great stuff was happening. I was also healing a broken heart as well.
Yeah. How did the album then come out of that?
So, well, basically I went home one weekend and I said to my dad, I'm signing a publishing deal with Warner Chappell for 40 grand. And he said, hold on, pause, I got to come up and meet your manager, I got to come and meet everybody, record label, you know, everybody. So he just I guess he freaked out as much as I did, and there was money at stake here. So as a dad that hasn't a clue about music, can't even sing a note, this is pretty alarming, you know. So it all happened anyway. I had one of the biggest agents in the UK, and I ended up supporting Neil Young.
Wow.
When I was 20 down in the Old Point Depot.
Mad.
Met Neil Young. It was all bloody crazy. So I met Mick Jones from The Clash. Didn't even know who he was. He was just drinking my rider in my dressing room. It's all bizarre. But anyway, it went up and down for a while. I started recording the album when I was 20, and it came
this
out
is with Sony.
Yeah,
right.
And it came out when I was 21.
And then what happened?
Oh, a lot of my friends I started being treated really weird around Dublin. Absolutely, like a star by some people.
This old tall poppy thing?
Well, it was like I was getting into clubs that I had to usually queue up for. I was getting it for free. I was saving up to get into most of these places. There was friends of mine who couldn't look me in the eye anymore, and then there was friends of mine.
Why not?
Because I guess there was a bit of jealousy. I was even starting going out with a girl, and she couldn't handle it. And it's weird. I've reacted like that around other people who've had success, and you don't know what it is, and it's envy. You know what I mean?
I suppose, yeah.
You know, I would have been friendly with Glenn Hansard around the time I got signed, but he would have just after getting dropped from Island Records, because that's a massive kick in the teeth and in the heart when you get dropped.
So why did you get dropped? So you produced your first album,
so I did my first
1996, Jelly Legs. Then there was this song on that album called To You I Bestow, which went absolute ape shit, right?
Well, they spent a lot of money on me. They spent $250,000 altogether between my first album and my second album on flights, sending me stupid taxis out to the airport, hotels for the management, tour support, advertising, printing of records. So that there was all that, and my advance included. But they want me to make a second record, which ended up becoming 24-star hotel.
But it was while you were making that they decided to drop.
Yeah, I got dropped with about another 300 bands. I wasn't solely let go.
This was when Sony were in deep doo-doo because they were just being hammered, right, as a company all over the world.
I believe so, yeah. I think, but I took it very personal, you know, because I think they all kind of knew that there was a big thing coming. Everyone's, you know, my manager would know another manager would know another manager go, oh, listen, it looks like things aren't looking good for us all. But what happened with them was they let go of all of us. I was a singer-songwriter who came out during Britpop as an Irish guy, which wasn't very marketable. But then, after I got dropped, David Gray went mega.
And you toured with him, right?
Yeah, and I toured with him, but it was just bad timing on their part because what I was doing became trendy then.
Yeah. So it was like it was a you know, bang, I've made it, and then literally bang, I think I got about 3 years of bang, I made it. You know, feeling the power. We're talking 19, 20, 21.
It's like 1996, 97, 98. I was on a high. I toured the world more or less. I did gigs with the Manic Street Preachers around then. Van the Man, Neil Young. I think what happened with me was I was so young. I didn't really have any appreciation. Didn't understand that it was going to stop. Didn't understand that.
Did it get to your head a bit?
Well, it did in a good way.
Right.
My manager Sally had a great way of saying, "Go out and, you know, kill it tonight. You know, you're sexy. You're a rock star. You know, or what? But not in a like an LA cheesy way. But she had that way of making me feel good about myself.
Yeah.
When I wrote a good song, she was like, "That's a winner. That is amazing." Right?
Is that important?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you don't have, as a solo guy, I don't have a band. I have a band who back me up, but we don't write together or anything like that. It's a lonely, very lonely creative process, you know, going out there on a limb on your own. You become very emotionally attached as well, and that can be a problem as well. And you love each other as buddies, and then you're managers, and you're like, after 7 years, you know, myself and Sally stopped working together. That was one of the hardest things that I ever did. Was telling her, listen, I think we should call it a day, you know. And we're still mates. I did it because there was a lot of getting tapes flung back at you from the A&R guy going, those songs aren't good enough. There's a lot of rejection.
Did the A&R guys know anything really at the end of the day?
No, like, I mean, I went back to the guy I signed with to his house one night, and he had more CDs unopened than he had opened. And that was a massive alarm bell. You know, and you don't know. And I was a pain in the ass to work with too. You know, don't get me wrong. Why were you a pain? Yeah. Because I thought I had more than I probably did. You know, I wasn't interested in collaborating with people back then. I was only like 20, and I didn't understand that you could actually write a love song with somebody you didn't know. You know, I thought everything had to come from the heart. Like there was no faking it for me. Towards now, it's all about faking it, you know. and in fact, it probably always has been about faking it.
Probably a good time to pick your third song.
Okay, I'm going to pick Healthy, because this is one that it's about a moment that I have kind of been in but not really been in, but a lot of people can identify with it, and I never really say what it's about, but it's kind of raunchy, I suppose, and Leonard Cohen would have some sort of an influence on this one, and there's a chord sequence near the end of it that I'm pretty proud of that I came up with. So healthy.
Kiss me quick is what she said before they come back in. I tell you this and it is true, I've never tasted skin so soft and smooth and brown and soft, a tremor of the heart. If anyone should find this out, I could lose my part. And this can't be healthy. And this isn't all, oh no, no. Oh, but it is amazing. Could it be because it is wrong? Hold my waist and taste my taste, bite the whole way through. I could sign my life away for this to continue. What to do would double edge every way I lose. Find a chair, a hook, a rope, a tiny up and loose. And this can't be healthy. And this isn't all, no, no, no. Oh, but it is amazing. Could it be because it is wrong?
Okay, that was healthy. We're now at a stage in Mundy's career where he has come from the dizzy heights of a Sony record deal, Jelly Legs the album, and he's now back having just produced his second album in 2002, 24 Star Hotel.
Yep.
Which you then set up your own record label.
That was the only option at the time. We knew we were dropped by Sony or Epic Records. There was a lot of jiggery pokery and we couldn't shop it to anybody. So basically I had this CDR in my bedside drawer with no writing on it. So Sally, the lady who was managing me, kind of had lost interest in this album at this point because she chopped it around and none of the labels came back, and I was kind of told by my lawyer basically that I should change my name because I was probably damaged goods.
Wow. Now, how did you feel that? Did you feel like chucking it at any stage?
I moved from London back to Dublin then, and I hadn't done any. I wasn't really allowed to do gigs in Ireland because they didn't really care about Ireland. I thought Ireland was going to happen anyway. When I came back to Ireland, I just started playing these songs because I was kind of sick of playing the Jelly Legs ones, and I could see people tapping their foot, clapping their hands, nodding, harmonising to July and to Mexico, and I was like, "There's life in this."
Yeah, I mean, they're two of your biggest anthems.
Yeah. I brought in those two songs to EMI over here, and I said, "Listen, I'm putting these out as a double A-side single. Will you put them out with me?" And they said, "Oh, they're good songs, but we have to re-record them and remix them, right?" And I said, no, they're produced, they're mixed, they're mastered. You just have to put your EMI stamp. So already within 5 minutes of my meeting with them, they already had me owing money to them.
Of course.
So this is my big realization that once you're in debt, they have by the gonads, you know. So I decided myself and Sally, actually, we put out an EP called The Moon is a Bullet Hole, and she said, "What you want to call the label?" And so Camcore is the river that runs through my hometown, through Burr. So I called it Camcore Recording, and we put out the EP, and then I split up with her business wise, and I just put it out, and people just started hearing July, and it just became.
And were you making money then on this?
Starting to make money,
right?
Like
because there's huge payback, obviously. You own
yeah.
everything, yeah. I mean, that song July, I mean, I always had this, I think I mentioned in the intro that you were this sort of voice of a generation, and the generation's probably 2 generations behind me, given that you're 1 behind me.
Right.
Just Irish people Irish kids who were turning, late teens just as the millennium turned. And I mean, that song to me is, it puts me in Dublin in July, and I'm born in July, so I kind of have a affinity with the month anyway. But
I thought it was an unfinished song. I thought the chorus was absolutely to throw away, I thought, and I wrote it in winter time in Ranelagh, number 79 Marlborough Road. I came up with this riff on the guitar, and it just sounded so summery to me. Anyway, I was like, wow, this could be my chance. So I was like, July please, Mama July, I had no chorus. I was like, oh my July, and I was like, now I need to go. It's changed it from. I just kept singing "Oh My Mama" and went back with my new list of songs to the record company, and they said everything is okay, but this one's really good. And I was like, but it's unfinished chorus. And they're like, you have enough weight in your verses to let go in the chorus.
Yeah, it's funny. Bono says the same thing when he's trying to write to music. He just he skiffles.
Yeah. I think you have to.
Yeah, he makes up.
Well, there's some stuff I've listened back to on my iPhone, like voice notes or whatever, and you're just gobbledygooking, and it's quite embarrassing if anybody ever
That's
found
a good name
it.
for a song, gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook, yeah, gobbledygooking. Yeah, John Lennon can write that one.
Yeah, he's dead.
Gobbledygooking, but no. So one never knows when the song is going to appear and whether it's going to have Velcro powers to stick.
So you never at any stage said, this is all getting a bit too hard?
Recently.
Okay, we're going to come to recently. But back then, no, you were still determined this is going to work. And
well, it was easy.
When did you start touring out of Ireland? Was that around...
Oh, like the Jelly Legs took me out of Ireland. I mean, that was... We did the States, we did France about 5 times, did the UK about 6 times.
And that must have been fun.
Amazing fun.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad, I just started reading Wonderland Avenue, which is a book about the Doors written by Danny Sugarman when I was about 14. The same copy of that book went around the whole school, and it was signed. Everybody signed it if you'd read it. My dad started reading it at the same time, and he's going, "What?" It was all sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He's like, "I hope you're only, what are you reading this stuff for? I hope you're not interested in any." And I said, "No, not at all. It's just a good book about a good band." And he rang me 5 or 6 years later, and I'm in a limousine in LA.
Brilliant. My
first and last time in LA. And he said, where are you? And I said, you would not believe where I am. I'm driving down Wonderland Avenue in the back of a white limo. And he was like, wow. And
is he proud of you?
He is, yeah. I mean, my parents have stood behind me through thick and thin. Always encouraged me to come to my gigs, not all the time, but I remember I played the Olympia one night years ago, sold out, and my mum was in one of the boxes, but it was like a nature program. The energy it was like Mama Baboon,
Right.
pounding her chest,
Really?
sending the energy down to me down
You
the
could feel
stage.
it?
I could see it.
Wow.
Not that I could feel it, I could see it.
Why did you say
feel
it was
it.
your first and last time in LA? Because I'm not a big fan either. What?
Well, it was the last time I was in LA.
Oh,
and it
you-
was my
you'd like
first
to
time.
go back, right.
No, I don't. I've not, I think if I have to go back, it'll be because of business. I don't have any desire to go there otherwise.
Right.
I
What
think
were your favourite memories of touring in America?
I love New York. I love Kansas City. I love San Francisco. I love
Because you played for
Chicago.
Obama. You played for Obama.
Played in the White House,
Yeah.
in Washington. That was a great experience. I love the randomness. I think, people say America's the land of opportunity. Probably for some it's the land of miss opportunity too, but I just think there's something about America that if you don't show up, if you're not in the lotto, you're not in it. Anytime I showed up, certain good things have happened.
Did your life change in a way that you said, okay, I had me big bite at the apple and now I'm going to do something different? Or did you ever have that sort of thinking, or did life just roll on? Or where was your head at? And you got married in those days, you had children, so where
After Raining Down Arrows went to number one, there was a great, this was like 2004, so we're coming into the boom now in Ireland.
yeah
And just there's a lot of money around, and there's a lot of people wanting to go to concerts, and there's an Irish movement. Just everybody's getting a good run at it. My live set got to a point where it was just, this is perfect now, we got to capture this. And I'm selling out Vicar Street, so we got camera crew in and we filmed it. We did a tour and we did 5 dates, and that was our last night. But none of my friends were in town because they're all busy. Like none of my musical friends, Damien Dempsey or Glenn or whoever. So basically I just rang Sharon Shannon, who I'd just become friends with, and I said, listen, will you come up to Dublin and we'll do Galway Girl, just last song.
So let's talk a bit about Galway Girl.
Yeah, we only met each other. We met each other after a Sinead O'Connor concert one night.
Just to say to overseas listeners, Sharon Shannon is a fantastic traditional Irish music. She's known as the Jimi Hendrix of the accordion. Mundy and herself teamed up, so we're hearing this story.
Yeah, well, we did a radio show with Tom Dunn, who used to be in Something Happens, who is in Something Happens still, but he asked me would I learn this song Galway Girl because she had nobody to sing with her. So she did an instrumental, I did Raining Down Arrows, and then I read this song off a piece of paper, and I had the chords written down, and just like a thunderbolt, all these texts start coming in. Never heard that song before, that's amazing, play that again. So about a month after that I did the concert, got her in, so I released the album. That song went boom. It just went absolutely mega.
And it was written by Steve Earle, who's
and
also
I'd already
a
had
legend.
that. Yeah, and Steve Earle.
I listened last night before I met you today to both of them back to back, and so Steve Earle's version of Galway Girl and your version of Galway Girl, and they're both very different. Steve Earle is from Texas, and he sings it with a sort of deep South accent, and he's like an American coming to Ireland and meets a girl, and I just thought it was so much more charming that an Irish guy from wherever goes out to Galway, and there's just that. And in fairness to Earle, he's always said that your version will go down as much more memorable than his one.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. I mean, and it was an accident, and in fact there's not even a picture of me and Sharon. We never did an official album cover or single cover for that. That song kind of really literally came into the house and like a big gust of wind and flipped up the table, flooded the house.
And it was a fluke.
Complete fluke. And it kind of turned my career upside down in a bit of a way in that.
So it was, I'm just reading here, it was the biggest selling single in Ireland 2 years in a row, which I don't know whether that's ever happened before.
Yeah.
It was the most downloaded album 2 years in a row, 2007, 2008. We have a friend sitting quietly with a beard in the corner, Shane Whelan, who used it for a Bulmer's ad, which gave it even more fame. And it became this, as you said, tsunami or tornado that came to.
And it ended up on that movie P.S. I Love You, which my name ends up on the poster in the movie, appearing tonight, Mundy, and then they go in and there's a guy playing the song on the stage, and not a cent, if anyone's listening, came my way.
We're going to have, well, I think the person to take that up is our former Taoiseach, and he can have a word with his daughter, because she wrote the she wrote the book anyway. Cecilia, if you're listening, Mundy didn't get paid.
It's probably down in Phoenix Park under a tree.
Yeah. Oh God, Goo Boo.
Anyway, but that song was so powerful that anything that I did after that was in the shadow of that, and so.
And you don't like this?
Well, I love singing the song. I like playing it as part of.
No, I don't mean you don't like Boygo, but you don't like when one thing becomes really big.
But I like the fact that now that July is as big as it, if not bigger. When I play Shot in the Dark off the new album, I can play it after Galway Girl and people still buzz off it. So
right.
I want people to come and see me, to experience that. It's not the best thing I've ever done. You know, that's the only thing that annoys me.
And then we ended up with a new studio album.
Strawberry Blood came out 2 weeks after my first daughter was born. So I was in a bit of a funny space when that came out. I've got this war paint on, and I kind of wasn't wearing the cowboy hat anymore. I wanted to be on the other side, the kind of dead man.
Oh right,
yeah,
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, thing. Yeah. I just was going through. I think I was putting on my war paint because it was literally the year of the nails was 30. I was 33, which is born and risen again, and so I was coming into fatherhood, and it was a very scary part of my life, to be honest, to become a father for the first time, putting out another album.
So what was scary? The responsibility?
Yeah, the responsibility, and also the Celtic Tiger was starting to crumble and leave town. Just got myself into a situation, you know, you buy a property and all of a sudden you can't afford to have it and you can't get rid of it, and like every other poor fucker around Ireland, it was a hard time for a lot of people. I'm not saying but I definitely felt the sting of it, you know.
So I mean, without being prying too much, you're a rock star, but you had the same problems everyone had when the Irish economy collapsed. Yeah, people couldn't afford to come out to your gigs.
Yeah, well, so basically I'm the last, as somebody said to me, music, cinema, theatre are the last on your list of luxuries when you're skint. They're all down at the end.
Yeah. So
that's when I felt, wow, gone from the biggest download for 2 years in a row. I mean, you take that into consideration when you're about to borrow something, that you think that you're going to be in there with you think you're going to be filling out the big venues still. And also taking into consideration that people in my age group also start marrying and have kids. If you add up what it costs to come in from Skerries or Dalkey or somewhere like that into Dublin City with your partner, including babysitting and a taxi and all that, and a meal and a few drinks,
€200, yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Ticket,
But you're great, because I mean, I've been up in Skerries and I'd say Mundy's playing.
Yeah, but so I found literally that I have
to them.
I have to go to them now.
Yeah. When you look back on, getting through all of that, the last 20 years, through the ups and the downs, someone else is in 5th year in school in an Irish town and is planning to do what you did, what would you advise them?
Be like a hawk and just watch what's going on. Like, basically, if you want to write, read. If you want to be a musician, go to lots and lots and lots of gigs. When you think you've got a bank full of songs, I'd say 6 really good songs. Ask your friends what they think of them. Play as much as you can. Play and learn as many covers as you can, because by learning covers you're kind of subconsciously learning how a great song is crafted. And when you have your bank of 6 songs and someone asks you to sing, get up and sing them with all your heart. And regarding the business end of it, don't do anything too fast. Remember that it's yours and it's unique, and it's very valuable in every sense, so don't sell it cheaply.
Mundy, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to let you sing us out without your guitar, but pick one of your songs to play us out, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I want to come back in 10 years time when albums number 7, 8, 9 and 10 have been released. So tell me where we're going at, and thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks a million. In my head I was going to pick this one. It's called Thanks for the Stone, and it's my dad's favourite song that I wrote when I was a chap.
As I feel it in my hands, I'm thinking about you, standing on the seashore, and your thoughts are far away. Saying goodbye to your troubles as they board on a boat. Seeing them sail off in the sea and seeing the ship sink. Well, I wonder, is there any room left on board for my troubles? I guess I could blow them away in bubbles, but a bubble would burst. Thanks for the storm. Thanks for the storm. Thanks for the storm. For the stone, I roll it round my knuckles, and did it sleep on the seabed with the mussels and the cockles. As I lay on my bed, I drift into a dream, sitting on the rocks, naked, drenched by the splashing sea. I'm making a paper boat out of my song, sailing it free, sailing it free. We were sailing, 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 sailing. Thanks for the stone, and it I will keep. And thanks to you for swimming so deep. I can see it now, sitting on the sand with the stone alone, staring at the horizon, staring at the